We're going to go ahead and do the third, although the second was really good. Like I said, we're not going to go with the rules. So here we go. But it is September 3rd. It's on there, I promise. Some of us have never known social joy or honest intimacy or emotional reciprocity. We have no sense of these things. Faced with getting our needs met, we are baffled because we can't even name these needs. From anorexia, sexual, social, and emotional, sex and love, Addicts Anonymous. Anorexia is an eating disorder, and sufferers deny themselves nutrition and pleasure from food. In sex and love addiction, anorexia refers to intimacy deprivation. Okay, so I had to put this on because there's background noise and it's not good. In the most obvious sense, the anorexic is withdrawing from all physical intimacy. But even among the sexually active, we can find emotional anorexia. Promiscuity may signal avoidance of deeper, emotional, intimate contact with anyone. Just as it is not the amount of alcohol consumed that defines alcoholism, frequency and choice of vice does not determine sex and love addiction. Is our behavior consistent with our values? Many addicts and codependents have love life imbalances. The origin of our intimacy disorders is thought to go back to our formative experiences with needs, expectations, and boundaries. In the original Big Book, Step 4 directions, we focus on 3 areas: fear, resentment, and sex conduct. Frustration from an inability to sustain intimate connections with people drove many a 12-stepper, unsatisfied with peer-to-peer support, into therapy. Hundreds of 12-step programs are available for a variety of obsessions or dysfunctions. Attending 6 meetings or so isn't a big commitment to make in order to see how our peers deal with addiction and find clarity. Abstinence is a healthy option for substance abuse, yet for other obsessive compulsive disorders, finding equilibrium through trial and error is the path to healthy living. Falling prey to a new addiction isn't failure. To blame the addict denies the power of addiction. That said, once we've confronted a problem, no one else is going to solve it for us. We recognize unmanageability, modify our behavior, seek help, and take the steps. We know this. We've been here before. Do my relationships mirror my values? Am I clear on my needs and values? Do I have social joy and intimacy in my life? So, for one thing, just to let you know, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, it's funny, we had so many problems in our family. My mom had anorexia. So I got to see what she had to go through and what her body went through. And there was a period of time I had gone to the circuit assembly and my brain wasn't doing well. And we didn't know what was wrong with me, right? And so I had gone and I was losing enormous amounts of weight. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't enjoying life at all. It was hard for me. Chocolate, our intimate life as a married couple was interrupted. I was really thinking about death because of what we went through every day. We would go to the meetings all the time, and what would we talk about? We would talk about Armageddon and all the death that we're going to see and how God's going to destroy everything and make everything better. But he had to destroy things in order for it to get better. And the destruction part is what I focused on. So, and then people will say different things about, oh, well, but it'd be a beautiful place. But I just would look down at my community in Aliso Viejo And because you could see it from below. And I remember the scripture where Abraham would look and he would pray to Jehovah and say, please don't destroy these people. If you find 10, if you find he was negotiating with God about not killing anybody in Sodom and Gomorrah. And you can't, these are just stories written up, and they were handed down from generation to generation. It's a storybook and mythical and has, I don't know, whatever, symbolic, there's symbolisms in there, but not realism. And so it's not realistic. And especially now in our lifetime, it's not realistic. It's just not realistic. If anything is going to destroy us, it's mankind that will do that, not any superior being, whatever. My point being is that I lost a lot of weight. I went to the circuit assembly, and my mom saw me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I know what it feels like to have anorexia." I'm like, "I don't have anorexia, Mom." She flipped out, and my mom had anorexia. She had a lot of sexual disorders, and unfortunately, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, and as a kid in a very toxic family household, and in a toxic religion, I knew too much. I knew way too much about my family members and their intimate life. That's the point. All right. So I got to see a lot of dysfunction in my family. And it was hard because, what does it say? Many addicts and codependents have love life imbalances. The origin of our intimacy disorders is thought to go back to our formative experiences with needs, expectations, and boundaries. And yeah, I didn't see healthy boundaries in my family. And my mom really didn't have healthy boundaries. She was molested at 9. She was molested again at 16. She had married a husband who was an alcoholic who also had been molested, according to my mother. So, it was just a big mess. And then it says abstinence is a healthy option for substance abuse, yet for other obsessive compulsive disorders, finding equilibrium through trial and error is the path to healthy living. And that's the point, right? You have to try and find where your balance is. And that is so hard in an intimate life or marriage. Right? I saw my mom struggle so much with her intimate life. I knew too much, but I saw it. And so that to find that equilibrium was important. And I didn't know what happened to her before she got married to my dad. She was married, I think, at 21 years old. And, relationship for her, it was difficult for both of them. They both didn't have healthy boundaries. And in turn, I never saw healthy boundaries. So, right, seek help and take the steps, right? Recognizing unmanageability, modifying behavior, seeking help and taking steps. That's important. And that's not always easy to do. So, it's important to get into some sort of program or therapy so you can find what that is. And I really appreciate that we sometimes need to see. It's unfortunate we don't have like little communities and tribes. Some of us do. Healthy family members that we see that aren't related to us as Jehovah's Witnesses and don't go to the Kingdom Hall, because it seems like that's our little isolated group and we all think a certain way. But if you can go outside of that and see how families manage without being in that community, it helps to have some sort of gauge, right? And if we've never been out of our community, we don't have that gauge. And that was me. That was our family. We just never had that gauge. We didn't know what that was. For my dad, for my mom, for me, it was 3 generations. My great-grandmother and my grandmother. So on my mom's side. nothing. And my dad was very disconnected to his mother. The mother was abusive, and the father was disconnected. So that's another generation that's 2 generations. So we just saw so much. We never had a gauge to go by. So when I got married, it meant changing the way I viewed things. And we did. We changed it within our family unit. But I never reached outside that family unit. And that's where Al-Anon comes in. And you see other families struggling to try and get their units together again, to put it back together again, to find a gauge that's healthy. And I think when you're in recovery, every place in the continent, every continent is different when it comes to family and how they deal with issues. And I think Al-Anon is helpful, but I wish it's hard to cohesively put everything together and to know what to do for your family members when they're suffering from certain things. It really is, because everyone is so different. And then you got to think about yourself and your own mental health and how much it's going to affect you. And are you going to be able to deal with certain things in the future and be healthy enough to deal with it? Because it's so much. It's so much. And when you're so disconnected, it's hard to help someone else when you're not strong enough. Your cup has to be full, right? Your cup has to be full. Otherwise, you cannot help someone else. And that's where group therapy, I think, is really helpful, because it is not just you. It's you with other people going through what you're going through and the connection that you get afterwards. So, with me, I do miss my girls. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to take this off now. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, the background is done. So hopefully, it's not an easy situation when you're dealing with any sort of addictions, sex addiction, anorexia, gaming, right? Now we have TikToks and gaming and all this other phone addiction. Oh my lordy, what don't we have anymore? Anything could, it explains, right? It's not about the amount of alcohol that you're drinking, but it's the constant. How are you doing? What are you doing? What does it say? Consumed. It says it's not the amount of alcohol consumed that defines alcoholism. Frequency and choice. Let me read that again. It says, just as it is not the amount of alcohol consumed that defines alcoholism, frequency and choice of vice does not determine sex and love addiction. So, our behavior. What are our values? Who are the people that we associate with? And as my children are growing up, I notice, things are changing, and they have to pick friends, and who are they going to pick friends with? And that's something that we're learning now with them, because I've never had a 16-year-old here right now in this period of time. And a lot of the kids are going through things that I've never been through. I didn't know about some of these things until after I got married. So there's a lot of things that have changed in our time, and the kids have gone through so much. COVID, the shutting down of schools, the stresses of knowing climate change, the political system that affects them. All of that stuff affects them. They aren't these little things that walk around that don't feel. They feel what we're feeling. So it is important to shut it off, right? I look at my videos and I see how many I've done, and I'm really boring, and that's okay. Like I said, boring's sometimes good, because it doesn't heighten that brain into this mode of anger or hate or total just polar. It's so polar out there, one way or the other. And like, it's sometimes nice to just shut it off. That's okay. Shut it off. Go to a library where it's quiet, or get that wonderful book that you want to read. Have the cup of tea. Go put your feet on the grass. All those things are important. Take your shoes off, right? Take your shoes off and put your feet on the ground. Really, try it. Do it. It's the connection. I'm not woo-woo-y. I'm just saying there's a connection there, and it's nice. So enjoy your time that you have. Make sure that your brain shuts off a little, and take your kids with you on that shut off. I know that my girls, we're kind of boring parents, and okay, we have to go spend time with you. And don't get me wrong, I mean, my husband and I, we like our quiet time away from the kids, and they're old enough now where they don't have to have us there all the time. But it is important to take them and do those boring things and sit around and just kind of talk about the things around us. I try and tell them, shut the phone off, and they argue with me about it. I'm like, nope. In between the car time that we're going, shut that phone off. I want the phone. If you can't shut it off on your own, give me the phone, hand it over. It's an argument in our home, but I do it. It's something that I make sure that we all try and do, and I make a conscious effort not to look at the phone. Sorry, this is long and drawn out, but anyway, I thought that would be helpful. And the experiences that I've had growing up, I've run the gamut. It's kind of interesting how things have worked out for me. I'm very grateful that I have my health. I'm very grateful that I don't drink, and I haven't for a long time. I'll have like maybe a little tiny bit of wine, but I can't really drink. So I red wine, but no, I can't. And hard liquor, no way. I've never been able to do hard liquor. My body just doesn't do it. Even when I was younger, I still didn't do it. Other vices, I think my only vice is TV and YouTubery. Oh, I am a YouTubery girl. I love the YouTubery. So that's where I learn stuff. And learn about the brain, and learn about what's going on that is healthy for my body, how to get my body and stay healthy. I'm 53 years old. I want to stick around for a little longer and know what is actually happening to me. So I try not to eat too much sugar. It's all a balance, and it's all really being mindful about what I'm doing. And I'm here. This is a beautiful place. It's called El Morro, and it's at the top. We're on the top of El Morro. This is the park. Believe it or not, nothing was here, 20 years ago. This was all just empty space full of bushes and cactus. I'll go and show you what it looks like on this side. But from right about here is the park. And I don't even know if I'm going to show you all of it or what I'm going to put in here, because I talk a lot, and so I end up having to eliminate a lot of this stuff. A lot of what I say. I hope all is well with you. I hope your families are doing well. Thank you for spending time with me and letting me come into your lives. And hopefully this helps you on your healing journey. Follow your bliss. Be good humans. So this is the top of El Morro. You can hear a lot of background tigers. Our friends were up here earlier, but I missed them. I was doing my videos. It's so beautiful. It's a good day. It's not too hot and not too cold. It's not too muggy up at the top either. It's beautiful. And there's our little hikers.